Hello everyone, I'm Geek Freak and welcome to the video. Guys, I love comedy. And one of my favourite comedies of all time is the series, or sitcom, Bottom. And yes, it's B-O-T-T-O-M, Bottom. This series was created by Rick Mayall and Ade Edmondson. In the UK, everybody loves these two. And sadly, around 6 to 7 years ago, Rick Mayall passed away. Rick Mayall was one in a million. He was one of my favourite comedians. May he rest in peace. The bastard. If you guys seen the series, you'll understand why I called him a bastard. It's kind of a sort of in-joke that the fans like to do. So yeah, back to the main point. Bottom is a very, very funny British comedy. Rick and Ade was also in The Young Ones, another classic British comedy, and I highly recommend that too. And also, Rick and Ade also did 5 live stage acts of the series Bottom, and those were hilarious too. But I'll get to those later. Now, even though I do recommend this series, and you guys are going to figure out which episodes that you like the best, I'm going to share with you guys which is my favourite episodes. This is my top 10 favourite episodes from the series Bottom. Now, there was only 3 seasons of this series, and more than half of the series is in this list. And so, this is my top 10 favourite episodes of the series Bottom. Here we go. Number 10. The episode Burglar. This is an episode where Richie, Rick Mayall's character, puts Hedy, Ade's character, to bed because he came out drunk, and just as Richie was about to go to bed, he hears something downstairs. He goes to wake up Hedy, and then one thing leads to another, and they catch a burglar. And all sorts of crazy stuff goes on here. They capture the burglar, wrap him up in sellotape, go to call the police, and then stops and decides to kill the burglar. Okay, I better stop here because if I was to say any more, it would ruin the episode. You guys are going to have to check it out for yourself. But the fact they go from capturing the burglar to interrogating him and doing all sorts of things to him, it's just freaking hilarious. You just gotta see it for yourself. And so with that said, let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is S Up. This is the episode where Richie and Eddie are looking after a shop that belongs to the landlord. Now, even though the first part of this episode is slow, the second half is absolutely hilarious. In the second half, they're on the roof having a picnic and they get trapped on it. And there was a lot of things going on the roof. It was just hilarious to me. Again, I don't want to give too much away, so you guys are going to have to check it out for yourself. And so, let's move on to number 8. Number 8 is Culture. This is the episode where Eddie and Richie's TV has been taken away, and they are completely bored out of their minds, and they have absolutely nothing to do. And so, they decide to play some games. And one of those games is the game Chess. And this part where they play chess is the most hilarious part. Again, I'm not going to go into detail. You're just going to have to go and see it for yourself. And I'm not going to go into detail in the other episodes. You're just going to have to see it for yourselves. At number 7, it's Terror. This is the episode where Eddie and Richie dress up and they go trick-or-treating. And they also have a cattle prod. Yeah, you heard me, a cattle prod. Use your imaginations on how they're going to use that. And in the second half, they decide to have a party. And they're getting things all ready. And they're trying to make everything all scary and all that stuff. And something about Satan. It's all good. Especially the Sprouts Mexican. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to watch the episode to see what I'm talking about. And so, with that said, let's move on to number 6. And number 6 is Holy. This is the Christmas episode. And Eddie and Richie are getting everything ready for their Christmas party. And they get up to all sorts of shenanigans. And the second half is absolutely hilarious. I'm not going to say what happens, but let's just say a reenactment of a certain play is in this episode. It is definitely worth the watch. And so, with that said, let's move on to number 4. Number 5 is Apocalypse. This is the episode where Richie inherits £600. They go to a carnival, his money gets stolen, and they hide in a fortune teller tent. And the fortune teller says that Richie is going to die in 3 days. And Richie is completely freaked out. And again, the second half is where all the funny multiplies by 10. And again, I'm not going to give too much away, but I do recommend this episode like I did with the previous ones. And so, with that said, let's move on to number 4. And number 4 is a tiebreaker. The episode Digger and the other episode Finger. Now the reason why I put these two together is because they're very similar and just as funny. Because in both episodes, both Richie and Eddie has to pretend to be somebody else. In Digger, Richie has to pretend to be a very rich aristocrat and Eddie is his butler. And the reason why he's pretending is because he's going to be having dinner with a woman at his place. so he has to pretend to be rich in order to impress her. And the banter between him and Eddie is freaking hilarious. And the caviar bit is probably my favourite part. And the other episode, which again is a tiebreaker and is very similar to Digger, is Finger. In this episode, Richie and Eddie has to pretend to be a newly wedded couple in order to get back at a Welshman. Now, I will not dare tell you what happens in this episode, but the episode itself is pretty goddamn hilarious. Especially what happens to Eddie. These two are very, very similar, and they're both very, very funny. And so with that said, let's move on to number 3. And number 3 is S Out. In this episode, Richie and Eddie goes camping in the middle of the park, and they have to try and survive for a week as a bet. And I'll tell you something, the slapstick in this episode is funny. It's both funny and relaxing at the same time. The fact that they have to try and survive in the park for an whole week, and as we all know, the audience, these two are incapable of doing anything right. If this was real life, these two wouldn't last for an half hour. For me, this was just a really, really funny episode. And so with that said, let's move on to number 2. And number 2 is Hole. In this episode, Richie and Eddie is stuck on a very, very tall Ferris wheel, and they have to try and figure out how to get down. Now, in my opinion, the fact that they are able to stay in one place and still be funny speaks volumes. They didn't need anything else other than stay in that one spot. Now, I've been hearing some people say that this episode's boring because they're just in one place, but as for me, the fact that they are able to be funny and stay in one place just tells you how funny these guys are. It's one of my favourite episodes and I highly recommend it. And so with that said, let's move on to number 1. And number 1 is Carnival. And this is the last episode of the series. In this episode, there's rioting, burning down buildings, cops being set on fire, riot squads, and Eddie and Richie go out looting, and Richie manages to get his hands on a BBC camera, and they decide to make their own personal programs. The last episode doesn't disappoint. It's a great send-off to the series. From acting like old women to try and making a You've Been Framed video, it is an hilarious episode. And so that said, let's move on to 0. And like most of my top 10 lists, at 0, I put something on 0 and that thing stays there forever. It is my absolute favourite thing, and even if I was to do a remake of this list, 0 will always stay the same. And so, on to 0. And 0 is Gas. This is possibly the most funniest episode of Bottom. Eddie and Richie steals gas from the next door neighbours. The gas man comes in, asking them if they can read their meter. And, well, I'm not going to say what happens, but when I first watched this episode, I could barely breathe on what I saw. It was possibly the funniest thing I have ever seen. It is possibly the funniest episode of Bottom ever. So please go and check out all the episodes of Bottom that I've showed you here. Now, I'm not saying all the other episodes that I didn't put on this list isn't funny. I'm just saying that these episodes I showed you on this list is my favourite, because in my personal opinion, I think they are the most funniest. But if you guys want to go and check them out, you can do so at your leisure. And also, there was the live stage performances they did. They did 5 live stages in front of a live audience. And here's my top 5, from my favourite to my least favourite. The last stage play, Bottom Live 2003, Weapons Grade Y Fronts Tour. Number 2, Bottom Live, the big number 2 tour. Bottom Live 3, Hooligans Island. Number 4 is Bottom Live 2001 and Ars Odyssey. And number 5, Bottom Live, the first stage show. These stage shows are freaking hilarious, and I highly recommend you guys go and check them out as well. Now, if you guys still ain't convinced to go and watch this series, well, this is what you're in store for.
Shut up, Rich. Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
And contact.
And that, my friends, is what you're in store for if you go and watch Bottom. And not only the series and the stage shows, please go and check out the bloopers they made during the production of the series Bottom. The bloopers are absolutely hilarious. You can find them on YouTube if you want to watch them. The bloopers, I mean. I really hope you guys go and check out Bottom. It is a riot. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out. Thank you guys for watching. And if there's a series you want me to check out and review and give my thoughts on it, or if there's a top 10 list you want me to do, or any reactions, or responses, or rants on anything geeky, just leave links and comments in the comment sections below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. If you guys want to go and check out my other social medias, I'm on Gab, Discord, BitChute, Tumblr, Dailymotion, Reddit, Subscribestar, Minds, Instagram, Twitch, DeviantArt, Pinterest, Parler, my anime list, and Vidya. And don't forget to check out my Skeptic channel, Gypsy Freak. And my other social medias are down there in the description box below, so if you want to go and check them out, please do. And if you guys want to support this channel, I'm on PayPal, Patreon, and GoFundMe. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss another video. I'm Geek Freak. Peace out.